My name is Issac Thau. I've been involved with Federation at various times, but probably over the last 30 years. I was originally a board member for a couple of years, and then had a blessed hiatus. And then I was approached by the then president, Ted Zacks, to serve on the investment committee of the foundation. And one thing led to another, and at that point the foundation had $1 million in it. Now it's about $50 million, I believe. And in between, I was became chairman of the investment committee, and subsequently chairman of the foundation itself.
Please tell us a little bit about how you got involved with Federation in the first place.
I came from Winnipeg, my wife came from Montreal. We were very accustomed to much more open Jewish communities than what we found here. I thought by getting involved with Federation, I would be able to get involved in a meaningful way with the local community. I would say that didn't happen. Not to say we didn't become involved with local community, we certainly did. We became donors in the local community. But, you know, most of our friends, most of the connections we've made in the city have been with people who, like us, came from somewhere else.
Can you talk to us a bit about that aspect of community then versus community today? Do you feel that the community is much the same, or has there been a change?
Well, there's just been a demographic change, because the community that the original Vancouver Jewish community was a fairly small community, and the community that has grown into Vancouver, where I hear we're now 25 or 30,000 people in the community, clearly hasn't been through a huge birth rate in the local community. So it has grown from people from outside the community, having come in, from various parts of the world. So it is a very different place than it was. I think it's a bit of a divided community, but one of the reasons I got involved with Federation was I thought it was a vehicle to bring a very divided community together.
And do you think progress has been made on that front?
Yeah, progress has been made, not enough. There's still a tendency in the community for people to want to do their own thing and go their own way, and I refer to as little fiefdoms in Vancouver. You know, there's people who support this institution or that institution or another institution, and sort of almost to the exclusion of other things. And it's a community that fights amongst itself in terms of coming together.
That sounds like a pretty significant challenge for a federation to tackle.
I think it's a huge challenge. I think that's why this community wasn't federated till, you know, what is it now, 30 years? I mean, the last major community in the country to be federated. I think it speaks volumes. And it's changing, and for the better. And, you know, we'll see if Federation can assume, whether the community will allow Federation to assume the role of community leader, and whether Federation is prepared to accept that mantle.
Over your course of involvement with Federation, any particular milestones that kind of make you feel good inside?
Yeah, my involvement with the foundation. Because I regard the foundation as the keystone, it's the building block for this community, because sooner or later, we're going to run out of donors or donors of significance in the community. They're running out of them in the US, and they will run out of them here. And the ability of this community to function going forward is going to be largely based on what's in that foundation, its capacity to support Jewish life in this city. And so I take great pride in my involvement with that.
So if you were speaking to somebody about why they should be involved with the foundation, perhaps create an endowment or something like that, what would be some of the key things you would want them to know?
You can't take it with you. That's, you know, and there's only so many ways to have an impact in your lifetime and beyond your lifetime, and that is one of them. And it's a larger impact than you can have in many other ways. Certainly people are going to look after their families first, which they should. But after you've looked after your family, this is an opportunity to look after your community. And there's such a huge transfer of wealth occurring, but we're now at a point where our children and probably our children's children are going to have less than we had. We're at a real inflection point where instead of everybody getting richer from generation to generation, we're seeing an increase in poverty. We're seeing young professionals in this city struggling, really struggling to own strata property, not standalone homes. And that everything that's in this community will become an amenity. Synagogues will be an amenity, JCC will be an amenity, Giving to Federation will be an amenity, and it's going to be competing with the Arbutus Club, with Whistler, with paying your mortgage, and there's only so many amenities you can have in your life, and I suspect it's going to be one. So how is the rest of this going to exist? How's the Louis Breyer going to be supported? So without the foundation and people taking the opportunity to think forward, there won't be a Jewish community here.
Are there any personally rewarding things that, were triggered or that you can credit to your involvement with Federation?
Oh, yeah. I've met some very smart, very committed people who give a lot of their time, a lot of their energies, a lot of their money. The staff have been traditionally fantastic, and very, I was involved in the committee that hired Marcy to run the foundation. Marcy's turned into a director that with abilities beyond what we imagined, that 15, 20 years ago when she was hired. No, well, I would just reiterate that for this to be, in my view, a cohesive community will require people to buy into a central vision of community growth and what is important in the community. And you're not always going to feel that it's your priority that's been singled out as the priority for the community, or that it's going to be your favorite agency that is going to have seen the largest share. I'm president of the Hillel as well, and Hillel was traditionally a smaller organization, but Federation has supported it greatly, and it needs more support. But without a federation, these smaller organizations would not exist, because the capacity of a smaller organization to fundraise what it needs is very difficult, and they can't. It's crazy for the community to pay for every agency to have a fundraising staff. It's absolute madness. And we're paying hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars for additional fundraising staffs in all our major agencies. This should be the central fundraising agency for the community. This should be the place where everybody writes their check. And that will guarantee us a good future, I think.
Let's talk about Hillel for a second.
Hillel has a budget of, let's say, $750,000, $800,000. Federation, together with CEJA, are $250,000 of that. So that's a lot of extra shekels to go out and ask the community for on a one-to-one basis. And with a larger campaign, it would make life a lot simpler for a small organization not to have to raise most of that money. In many communities, Toronto, Montreal, the bigger communities, Hillels are almost completely supported by their federations. 99% of their funding comes from federations. So it would be very, very good if this community's campaign were to grow for the benefit of Hillel, but I'm sure for the benefit of many, many of these agencies in this city, so that the efforts of the agencies and their executive directors were involved in their mission programming as opposed to fundraising to get there.